Welcome everyone to the second episode of Real Talk with my homies. I am your host, Jake Wardrop, licensed realtor with Homepage Realty in Louisville, Kentucky. Today's guest is also another good friend of mine, so we've gone back-to-back friends. Harrison Glauber. Harrison is a commercial realtor with the Grisanti group. They're based out of Louisville as well. Harrison has worked on transactions valued anywhere from $70,000 all the way up to $100 million. He also recently got married to his high school sweetheart, Megan. And me and Harrison met, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago, just as industry acquaintances, and have since become friends. So, Harrison, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time, and I know it's important that, so, again, this episode is being recorded in December, but it is being aired in February, so if we're off by a little bit, don't hate us. So.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So let's break the ice a little bit and ask you the hard-hitting questions right from the jump. How many holes does a straw have?
I think that's 2. And the reason for this, I used to be a one-hole guy.
Yep.
And then I heard a compelling argument.
Yep.
That if you walk into a room, there's one door.
Yep.
That's effectively the hole into that room.
Yep.
If there's a door leading out of that room separate from the one you came in,
Yep.
2 doors, 2 holes.
Okay.
That room doesn't become a hallway.
Yeah.
Just because it's got 2 doors.
So you're a 2-hole guy.
I am.
All right.
Converted.
So what if I shrink this straw down to half? Is it still 2 holes?
It's 2 holes.
What if I shrink it all the way down to the size of a bagel? Is it still 2 holes now? Because it's still a straw.
Is it a straw, though?
I don't know.
It does get difficult as the proportions.
We slowly become a 1-hole. You slowly become team 1-hole.
It does. That is, again, compelling. I've been converted before. I might be able to be switched back. That is the most compelling argument I've heard yet. Shrink it, cut it in half. I don't know.
Yep. All right. So we are sitting here first week of February. Who is our Super Bowl champs?
Ravens, Baltimore Ravens.
Ravens? See, I would have to disagree. I am happy and excited to be the first person to congratulate the Jacksonville Jaguars on their, I believe, first Super Bowl as a team. They beat the Detroit Lions. It was a hard-fought game, high-scoring game, but Trevor Lawrence really put it in over the top at the end of the game. I'm upset. I am a Lions fan. But I do have family that is diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fans. So
how about the Lions-Ravens game?
Yes. Yeah. So I do feel excited for all of my family down in Florida and South Georgia for their Jacksonville Jaguars victory. So congratulations to the Jaguars. There's no chance that this is wrong. You can go ahead and take that to the bank with 100% certainty. Go ahead and lock in those future bets. We are good to go. Please bet responsibly.
I'll see you at the AFC Championship at M&T Bank Stadium up in Baltimore. We'll see.
All right. So, Harrison, what is your largest deal to date that you have done?
Closed deal largest was $1.6 million.
Okay.
It was a lease deal. 112,000 square foot building downtown Louisville. It was a great example of good landlords. They bought a dilapidated, very old building. If you're from Louisville, you might know it, the former Napa Auto Parts building.
Okay.
They completely redid it, repainted it, all new electric, turned it into a really nice space, and my clients, Clark & Riggs Printing, were able to get in there, expand their business. They already have about 100,000 downtown, and they've now doubled that. So it's great to see that growth from a local business here in Louisville.
Yeah.
Keep it downtown.
What is your smallest deal?
I did an office condo with a salon in it. It was 700 square feet and sold for $65,000, I think.
Yep.
And I did a lease for $800 a month for a year.
Gotcha.
So the way leases work is you just take the whole term based on 800 times 12. That's $9,600. That's what that lease was worth, and then I get paid a percentage of that.
Gotcha.
So that was definitely the smallest, but leasing is a little unfair.
Yep. So outside of work and family, what occupies your time the most?
Well, right now it's been a new house. My wife and I just got married in June, and we bought a place in February. And it's both of our first times living in our own home. I had an apartment in college, and she actually went to school living at home. So there's been a lot of just enjoying having a space that you can do projects on, work on. And we have 2 kittens now, kind of in their teen phases, I guess.
So you're a cat dad?
Yeah, cat dad. We've got Ronnie and Remus. And they keeping them out of the Christmas tree is probably the primary suck of my time right now. So hopefully that changes.
Keep putting baby gate up. Would a baby gate help?
That's a good idea.
I mean,
but
probably look ugly as sin around a Christmas tree, but
you know what I'm afraid is if I put a baby gate in, they're gonna get a running start, leap over the gate, and then cannonball into the tree. So
eventually hit the tree now.
Yeah, it might take a little problem in terms.
Challenge accepted, cat dad.
Yeah. Yeah, they push you for sure, but they're fun.
Awesome. So what is your biggest goal of 2024? Professionally, personally, dealer's choice.
Professionally, I would like to break through 6 digits in earned commissions.
Okay.
I was about 20 grand off this year. And I had some good deals in there. So next year I'm counting on more volume versus just a few that are successful. And personally, I 1 year anniversary of being married. I hope that we're in a good spot going forward. We still like each other.
Yep.
Like living in our house, and start thinking about having kids here soon. So a lot of things moving right now. Being 24 years old, there's a lot of moving parts.
So I'll just be completely honest with you. I don't know a ton of commercial realtors. I know some. I know some good ones, you included. However, I know hundreds of residential realtors, and for me, I'm residential through and through. What was your thought process of going to commercial? Because as far as I know, we went through the same schooling, we took the same tests. I just went with residential, you went with commercial. What was your thought process, behind becoming a commercial agent in lieu of a residential agent? What was the normal, quote, air quotes, normal trajectory of a realtor?
Yeah, you're right. We both had the same school, that 96 hours plus another 48 once you're licensed for the new guys. And really the change doesn't happen until after you get in it. And the reason I went that route, I originally actually thought about doing residential, but I'm extremely competitive, always have been, to a fault, my mom would probably say.
Yep.
And I started researching more and seeing what it took to be a very successful residential agent. And it was more than I was willing to give up from a time perspective. Mm-hmm. Recently married and hopefully have kids soon, doing the 9 to 9 and the weekends, which is really what you do to differentiate yourself, I think. And as a residential agent, I wonder if you'd agree. That was more than I wanted to give at this such a critical time in my life. And so I started looking at other avenues and landed on commercial real estate. And it was sort of an aha moment. My dad was actually a commercial real estate appraiser. So it was an industry I was kind of familiar with. Yep. A slight variation of the appraisal side versus the agency side. And once I started looking into it, it was obvious. It was all things that were more exciting, more interesting to me. The sectors that you can work in, being in these big industrial buildings or places that most people don't get to go was very exciting to me. And that was probably the biggest pull.
Yeah. So as a commercial realtor, where's your lead gen coming from? Because obviously from a residential aspect, you throw a rock and hit 6 people that own a house. Yeah. There's your client base right there. Everybody either rents or owns. And if they rent, we want to try and help them get into a buying situation. And if they buy, at some point, they either need to upsize, downsize, move to different parts of town. Where, as a 24-year-old individual, where is your lead gen coming from? Because it is, when I was 24, I didn't have a ton of friends that owned businesses that required something of my services. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe you do have a big sphere of people that you've known for a long time, but where's your lead gen coming from for your clients?
You mentioned the spheres, and that is a great point. In the spheres of influences, that's what they always teach you in sales, is who's your closest sphere of influence.
Yep.
Typically that's friends, family, and you're spot on being 24. I didn't have that first sphere. And so what I did is I went old fashioned. I went and knocked on doors and businesses in Mount Washington, where I'm from, J-Town, where I work, and went through, just introduced myself, baked some cookies, brought them as a gift. Said, hey,
how are your cookies?
The first batch were great. I make some good cookies. The second batch got away from me a little bit. I was trying to do too many at once, and so I did bring those people.
Economies of scale, gotcha.
Yeah, the scaling up process.
Got to make 12 to 18 at one time.
Yeah. So typically I make some pretty good cookies. My wife makes some even better cookies, actually, since she's taken the crown from me. But just doing that really was successful. And it's very different from what most commercial real estate agents do. And part of that was because I was in a small firm. We have 6 agents, including our broker, who's active. And a lot of the other commercial brokerages have dozens in Louisville, and that's not even to mention hundreds, if not maybe thousands, they have across the United States. And a lot of their work comes from corporate accounts that they already have. CBRE, for example, is one of, if not the biggest brokerage. They do all the work for dozens of franchises. Edward E. Jones. I don't know all of them that they do, but they might have all the McDonald's, things like that. And so they have work that's right there for you. And since I didn't have that, I went very small scale, grassroots in my community where I had some roots, and just worked with the little guys. Like I said, I sold a $68,000 office condo. The big guys aren't worried about that. And so my hope is to get in small, and as those people grow and need more space or multiple locations, then I'm still the guy that they call.
Gotcha. What's an average day as a commercial realtor look like? Mine's all over the place. There's an old joke that one day I don't even think I have a job, and the next day I have 1,000 things I got to do, and half of them are time sensitive. What's an average day as a commercial realtor look like for you?
It sounds pretty similar to what you're going through as well. It really is on a day-to-day basis. You might have 6 showings lined up, and you get a dozen emails while you're gone, and you feel like you're drowning. And then the next day, you will get a single email, a single phone call, and like you said, it feels like you don't have a job. So that was something I struggled with when I was new, was doing that, those down times and being productive.
Now you go into the office every day, right?
I do. So I work in the office every day, and on those days when I don't have much actively knocking on my door, I create lists for potential fits for listings I have. I've got one in J-Town that's available. I went through and kind of pinged all the businesses that I thought might be interested and either opening another location, or they just are in the business and maybe they know somebody who wants to be there. Converting contacts over into customer relationship management, things like that, sort of housekeeping stuff for when people aren't ringing your...
Yeah, and I think too, I came from a world prior to real estate where I had a 9-to-5. I was constantly I was required to be in the office. Work from home was not an option. Right. And at that time, work from home really wasn't even like a thing like it is now. I work from home. I have my own personal struggles from time to time where I'd rather just sit on the couch and watch TV than get down and do what I have to do. And I think that's just human nature. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to just, drag your feet a little bit. But I do think going into the office kind of gives you that sense of purpose. You won't be able to wear your sweatpants into the office.
Yeah.
You got to dress up.
Flipping that switch.
Yeah. You get into that mindset. The ride in is kind of that, kind of like a dimmer switch. You're starting the home life, and by the time you get to the office, it's go time. It's time to work. So I think, I go to the office maybe once or twice a week. Mainly definitely go on Wednesdays, especially when we have like Cracker Barrel breakfast or Chick-fil-A breakfast. Shout out homepage on the breakfast choices on Wednesday sales meetings. But then sometimes it's good to just get a change of scenery. I have an office downstairs, worked really hard to get it to where it is. I enjoy being down there, but sometimes those four walls seem to get a little smaller.
Yeah.
And it's good to get out and get into an office and, actually talk to people face to face as opposed to just trying to get people on the phone to see, what their interest level is.
Yeah. And if I work from home, I eat like crap.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
The second you're hungry, you go down to the pantry and, you grab a snack, and then all of a sudden you're eating a bag of chips.
Yeah, I will say,
I have snacks at the office for that reason.
I will say, though, that if I do go to the office, I'm DoorDashing Chick-fil-A anyway for lunch. So it's not really helping the diet in the first place by going into the office, but I like where your mind's at, that actually going in.
I can't spend the service fee. I'll just drive.
It's too addictive. It's just too easy. It is way too easy. So in commercial real estate, for the average listener, they're probably not going to know too much about commercial real estate other than, seeing the buildings and the businesses that they drive by on a day-to-day basis. What's a current trend in commercial real estate that maybe the average person doesn't know?
Current trend, I would say, is that we're still kicking. A lot of people, educated or not, I shouldn't say educated, informed or not, know that interest rates are up there.
Yeah.
And that really impacts residential real estate, and it does really impact commercial real estate, but to a smaller degree. And so what I would say is the biggest thing is that business keeps happening. It's just it adjusts a little bit better. It's not quite as impactful as it is a residential, where somebody has their one sole biggest investment all of a sudden is worth $50,000 less because interest rates doubled. Or I'm sure those numbers are way off. Like I said, I don't do residential.
Yeah.
In commercial, they keep going. Other than investment real estate, investment definitely slows, because that's where people are trying to base the value on a certain income stream. And obviously, if you're paying 2 or 3 times as much interest as you were 2 years ago, then that income is getting eaten into a lot.
Yeah.
But anything owner occupied, restaurants, offices, industrial space, land, it all keeps moving. So I've been in my busiest the last 6 months, and that's not just a me thing.
Yeah. I mean, rates have been at an all-time high over the last 6 months, and you're still staying busy, so that's good. What processes do you have in place that kind of make your life easier? Do you have like I don't believe in gatekeeping. I believe that if there is something that works, you should share it. If you're that good at what you do, then it shouldn't matter what somebody else is doing. What do you have any processes or tricks that you implement that make your job easier? You're more efficient with your time. A good example for me is I actually just hired an admin to handle a lot of my paperwork, to handle a lot of the stressing behind a computer screen,
right,
drag and dropping signatures, making sure deadlines are met, having that rolling calendar of days that are important from a deal, or else, you accept as is conditions if you don't meet certain dates. So I recently just hired an admin because that was, there's some gray hairs in my beard because I don't have any on my head. There's some gray hairs in my beard from paperwork.
Right.
It is my least favorite thing of the industry. They don't tell you about that in school. So I wish they would. It wouldn't have changed my mind, but at least I would have known.
Yeah.
I hired an admin who I'm still working through, the processes for both of us. So I need to learn how she works. She needs to learn how I work. And, within a few months, we'll be rocking and rolling and it'll be fantastic. But what processes or anything like that do you have in place that kind of makes you more efficient?
For me, the biggest thing is organization. That's what I struggle with, is keeping everything straight. And so I have a couple of systems that I use in tandem to keep all of the deals I have. With commercial being so slow, imagine every commercial deal is like, comparing it to the residential world, that one buyer who's so specific that you might send them a house every 2 months.
Yep.
And it takes 3 years, and eventually they buy, and it's great because they bought a $900,000 house.
Yep.
That's kind of every commercial deal. So it's tough to make sure that you're keeping up with things. Because a lot of times you're touching base every 2 months, every 3 months. So I have a file system. I don't know if anybody else calls it this. I learned it from my dad. He calls it a tickler file because you go through and you run your fingers through all the files. And that has Monday through Sunday, and then it has next week, then it has all the months, and then the next 10 years. And the reason you have all of that is somebody calls you, they say, hey, I'm good right now, but my lease is up in June. Call me then. You just write a note, drop it in the June file. With leases, there's renewals. So somebody might sign a 3-year lease. 2 years from now, they've got an option to renew. You can call them back. You get paid on that renewal as well. Maybe they don't renew. They look for more space. You got to keep up with them. I've got one that's 5 years out. So that's sort of the longer term organization. And then the shorter term, I have a whiteboard, just a good old fashioned school whiteboard.
I got a massive whiteboard in my office.
Yeah.
It is tried and true.
Yeah, I didn't invent that by any means, but it's got buyers, sellers, landlords, and tenants.
Yep.
And that just helps me keep track of everybody who's called me. Maybe they called me on a listing I had, and they were a potential tenant, and it didn't work out. The next time I have something that's kind of similar, odds are they're still looking. I just send it right back to them. And that helps me, and it gives me a place to work and keep everything straight. And I use a whiteboard because it's just easy to.
I'm a visual guy. I'm a visual guy. I like being able to see things. I've got a client out of Chicago that's an investor. They have a lot of rentals. So for me, I don't like my desktop being taken up by all of the stuff that I need to mess with the rentals. So I put all my rentals on the whiteboard. That way it's easy because they go pretty quickly. They're normally fairly priced, good price. They move quick. Scrape them off, and then I got 2 more that probably need to go back up there anyway. So I like that. I like that mindset. Is the whiteboards for kind of the short and quick stuff that you need to see. Or I've got a couple things on my whiteboard that are permanent. I don't want to take them off. If I could have written them in Sharpie, I would have. Just certain things that I need to be cognizant of when I'm doing my day-to-day stuff. And they're specific to me, not real estate or anything like that.
Right.
So last question I have for you, and we'll get you out of here, is let's pretend I'm a business owner. I'm looking for a brick and mortar for my business. I don't know if what I do in this make-believe fictitious business matters, but treat me like a client. How would you qualify me for my needs and my wants? What's an average conversation like with a client?
Well, first question is obviously the use.
Let's say let's say I sell apparel. I sell T-shirts and other random stuff.
Do you make them on site, or are you a wholesaler?
I buy them in quantities, and then I buy them from a manufacturer, and then I net 30 terms, and then I'm selling them in my store.
And are those coming in on box trucks, semi trucks?
Well, they're coming in on like a small box truck.
UPS? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe UPS here and there.
Yeah. What that tells me is that this person needs a storefront. They need a retail space. The reason I ask if it comes in on semis is because for that you would need a dock door or a roll-up door.
Yep.
And that is typically going to put you more in what's called kind of a flex space, sort of retail in the front, industrial in the back. It's like the mullet of commercial real estate.
Yep.
And so now I know what kind of space you need. So the next question is, are you looking to have a lease, or are you looking to purchase your property?
Lease right now, just because I don't have the financial capital to acquire a space like that. So I want to lease.
And in turn, 3 years, 5 years?
I don't know.
Well, and probably the standard.
What would you recommend?
For a space like this, I think 3 years. You're not changing the space a ton. If you were going to come in, totally change, you might need to stretch it out to make the landlord a little bit more comfortable with those changes. But what you're doing, I think 3 is probably reasonable. And landlords are just fine with that. And then lastly, these is very dependent on the space, how much sales you think you can run through the building. But you have an idea of your budget for your rent?
Well, we'll probably do about 100,000 in sales. So I would say I'd like to keep rent to 25 to 30% of that.
Okay.
So as I'm going to operate it a lot myself, so payroll is, I'm not going to have payroll. I'm not going to have a ton of payroll as I'm taking profits and payroll at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say 30,000 for the year.
So, mental math, which you should never let me do. You're, maybe
$2,500
and $2,500 a month. And from there you take the number, and in leasing, there's some different kind of terms. I won't get into the nitty gritty, but basically you're either going to have a rent that includes everything or a rent that doesn't include everything.
Yeah. I'd like everything to be included.
Yeah,
I don't want to mess with it. I just want one flat fee.
Perfect.
I pay this and all my problems go away.
Yeah, so that's called either a gross or a fully full service lease. They're very similar, some slight differences that are really space specific. And what time are you ready to move? Beginning of the year, 6 months from now?
For the right space, I'm ready to move now.
Okay. So that's about it for the first meeting. I don't like to go too much in detail as far as the individual needs for a space until I actually can put a space in front of somebody, because especially if they're new to it, they don't quite know what they need yet.
Yeah.
And it's easier to have that discussion when you have a space to discuss and say, well, I like this. I like that this space has this. I don't like that it has that. Rather than trying to do so much on that first phone call. Figure out the general stuff that guides your search, and then I send 3-4 properties over. Typically they have a favorite. Maybe it's not good enough to go see, and then I find 4 more that are more like that, the good things, and at that point just set up some showing. So it's a little bit slower and more drawn out than residential.
Yeah.
But
not a lot of firing from the hip.
Yeah. There's a lot less pressure to get something done really quickly. You can see that on every step of the process. Setting up showings, the timelines on contracts, all of it's just a little bit slower. So it's definitely something to get used to.
Yeah.
If you're new to it, is the time that it takes to get a deal done. But once you get a good system, you fill that pipeline like everybody knows. And hopefully you've got stuff closing every month. Even if you've been working on it 6 months, you've got enough in the pipeline that you're always getting something going.
Yeah. So any closing remarks from you before we sign off?
Well, I'm glad that I was able to come on. Hopefully I was able to teach people a couple of things about commercial real estate. A lot of people don't even think about it.
No.
Think, that's not for me. That's for those big buildings I see on the side of the interstate.
Yeah.
But it really isn't. We do that. Absolutely.
Well, I think it was good.
And all the way down to, if your mom has a beauty salon or an accounting firm.
Yeah.
Well, these small stuff, those guys deserve commercial real estate agents as well. They can negotiate the lease. They can come in and get the best terms for them. And that's really why, we have agents.
Yeah.
Same thing with
and I think that's kind of why I wanted to have you on as a commercial realtor, is to, as an outsider looking in prior to actually being involved in this industry, it was a very, I wonder who does that. I wonder who does this. Like you see the residential realtors because they're on park benches, they're on Facebook everywhere you look. There's, we've never been shy to put our face on something.
Yeah.
But it seems like the commercial realtors were more kind of, not cloak and dagger, but they were more behind the scenes. They were, suit and tie every day. And, there was just kind of more curiosity of, what was going on. So it was great to have you on and kind of peel back the layer a little bit and, showcase what a commercial realtor can actually do and how a commercial realtor actually operates.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could talk forever. I won't. I say to you guys that, but just the variety of what commercial real estate gets into, I've got some funny calls. Maybe I'll discuss that with you off air.
Yeah.
And definitely had some interesting clients call that you don't work with all of them.
Yep.
But it's a blast. Every day is different.
Well, I think too, it'd be good maybe, another episode down the line, have you back on and also do a deep dive on like a very specific
One transaction.
Yeah, one transaction that, maybe it's several years ago and you can talk about it because it's, all parties are aware and You know, no one's gonna get in trouble or anything like that, but, you know, kind of do a deep dive into one specific topic or transaction and just kind of see how the inner workings took place. So
yeah, I would love to. We'll see if people want to hear it.
Yeah,
Watch it. I hope they do. It's exciting.
all that matters is clicks. Does it get the clicks?
Yeah, it's exciting to me. I enjoy it. We'll see if everybody else enjoys it as well.
Awesome. Well, Harrison, I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.